Welcome to the DKUMA tutorial series. This video will explain the Setup tab of the DKUMA editor. The Setup tab requires your current scene to contains the necessary DKUMA and UMA/DCS objects. The DKUMA object of the scene contains the DKUMA variables component. This component is used by multiple processes of DKUMA. At the moment we will focus on its DKUMA game settings variable. Same as almost all the DKUMA components, do not modify this component manually, use the DKUMA editor, or you can expect to encounter some errors during the usage of DKUMA. Usually all the DKUMA components able to be controlled directly by the user are using a custom inspector window. The DKUMA game settings is the principal DKUMA database. It contains almost all the necessary references used by the DKUMA engine. It is highly recommended to not modify this database manually. References and settings are controlled and accessible using the various DKUMA tools. Let's return to the Setup tab of the DKUMA editor. Here you can assign a different DKUMA game settings database. It is highly recommended to duplicate the default DKUMA game settings to keep your own settings, or it will be replaced by the default one at every update of the DKUMA engine. If you do so, assign the duplicated database to the corresponding field, then save your scene. And mentioned in the DKUMA editor, this database is to be assigned in every scene using DKUMA. The DCS build enabled delay is used when generating an avatar in-game to avoid some avatar glitches at first generation in-game. You can set more delay if you are using a lower-end gaming platform such as older mobiles. For your users' comfort, do not go over 0.5 second. You can enable a debugger messenger to display multiple messages of the engine return to the Unity console window. Use this save button to save the DKUMA game settings database at the end of the modifications of the settings. Use this save button to save the current scene in the case you changed of DKUMA game settings database. The minimum and maximum DNA values are used to limit the shape modification. The DNA is usually controlled by the DKUMA race and gender, but it cannot be under or over those values. This limit applies to every avatar, gender, and race. Pushing the limit under or over could cause some visual glitches about the mesh of an avatar. DKUMA can use a LOD system. Enabling the LOD will reconstruct the atlas textures of the avatars, changing its resolution depending of the distance. You can also use a mesh LOD system. This feature requires to have multiple variations of the same UMA slot, each one at a different geometry detail level. It is rare. If you have some, you need to create a DKUMA slot, also called blueprint, for each of the LOD UMA slots. Then you need to assign them to the master DKUMA slot. This slot is the more detailed one, the LOD0. This feature is explained in the corresponding tutorial about the preparation of the DKUMA slots. Here you can set the atlas texture resolution of each LOD. It could be useful to reduce the memory used by the avatars. The LOD frequency defines the delay between distance calculation. Reducing the frequency can overcharge the CPU, so do not change it or change it with care. The LOD distance is the distance to the camera. It is calculated at each frequency interval for each avatar in the scene. Remember that LOD can overcharge the CPU. It is a difficult choice between memory usage and CPU charge. It could be better to not use LOD. In some cases, such as using old UMA elements made for a previous UMA version like UMA 2.0, the UMA material of the old elements could be missing. The default UMA material will be assigned to correct this problem. Use the fix process of the Elements Manager tool to do so. Since the version 2.7, DKUMA manages the physics of the avatars. Be sure that none of the fields is missing, or the physics will not be used by the avatar, and that could result in some error if you tried to add physics to it. Just assign the same slots and recipes you can see in the image. The default races are used by another DKUMA tool, the Race Editor. Be sure that none of the field is missing, or assign the corresponding data you can see in the image. The Race Editor will be covered in another tutorial. This tutorial is now finished. Please remember to save the game settings database if you modified any of the settings. The next video will explain the corrector tab of the DKUMA editor. Thank you for your attention and support. See you soon for more information about the DKUMA tools.